Hey everybody, it's me, Peter Bowden. I'm glad you are here for this session on really looking at the COVID-19 coronavirus and talking about our digital strategy. Those of you tuning in live, let me know where you're tuning in from on a comment. And then just hi to all of you watching the recording later and on the podcast. Now, I am a consultant, trainer, and coach working with congregations, different nonprofits, communities, with a special focus on both community building and integrating digital tools, video, other connecting strategy into our work and ministry. So in regard to where this coronavirus outbreak is going, I've been following the news, reading different reports, listening to podcasts. There's a new podcast called Epidemic by Barack Obama's old czar for the Ebola outbreak, another doctor. I don't have her name right at the tip of my tongue. But listening to all these people and Sanjay Gupta on CNN, my understanding is that this outbreak has reached the point where it's not going to be able to be put back in the box, okay? So there are all kinds of strategies being used to contain it, slow it down, but that's so that we can get our response all planned, all right? So we are in a holding off the spread so we can be prepared, so you can be prepared for when it really fully enters our communities. So I just want you, I'm not going to speak to the statistics, the probability that that's going to happen, but I want you to plan for whether it's sometime soon, coming months, or next year after the summer when viruses don't spread as much, when there's a big comeback in next fall and winter. All right, just Australia is reading, they're looking at like, all right, millions of people across Australia getting infected and getting the virus. You look at the Europe, China, there's no reason why we shouldn't expect those maps, we look at the spread, to be what we're going to be dealing with. And if you just look at, there's a great interactive Johns Hopkins University map, and you can see this spreading everywhere slowly. So that's just the context of this session. What I want to focus on as someone who really works with ministry and media and integrating the two is to have you think about, how do you go about your work in ministry should you have to close your doors for a certain period of time? Now, that might be for a week, could be a longer period of time. But also, in addition to that kind of extreme situation, and right now, they're across China. I was reading this, around the world, something like 300 million children aren't going to school right now, okay? So we really are being presented with this challenge of, how do we do our work? How do we do spiritual exploration, inspire people, do all the work that you do as staff, professionals, volunteers, lay leaders, day in and day out? How do you accomplish that without being face-to-face? Now, I want to say that in terms of the digital aspect that we're going to talk about, the things that I'm going to go into are all things that I think you should be integrating into your work and ministry right now, just generally, without talking about any kind of viruses or outbreak. We're in the 21st century. People have smartphones. And so all the things that we're going to talk about now, and I'm going to give you a bunch of ideas, just get you thinking, jumpstart your planning. These are things that would serve your ministry, your members, your friends, outreach efforts, educational efforts generally. So don't, as I'm talking, don't think in terms of like, oh my gosh, I got to do all this extra prep in order to be ready for maybe this happens with the coronavirus, COVID-19. No, friends, what we're talking about is actually a lot of the strategies that you should already be using, period. So this is more for those of you who aren't using the strategies I'm going to share now. There's a little bit of catch up, okay? So just know that the time you invest in your digital strategy, your digital ministry, which today is really just ministry period, is going to serve you, okay? And I just want you to know, I'm going to go for till another 15 minutes, just kind of more presentation, and then I'll check out questions, okay? All right, so let's get into it. first, anyway, let me just make sure nobody else wants to join the group. All right, I'm broadcasting live in the Facebook group. All right, I can close this window. All right, here we go. All right. So, social media. We have entered what increasingly people are calling the digital marketers, experts with communication, and Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, a video-first world. What does that mean? It means the majority of all content that people engage with on social media is video. Okay? So if you think about people's attention as they're using their smartphones, it is video that they are looking at, is video that they're talking about, is video that they're commenting on. It's video that's holding their attention. Okay? So just generally, if you want to be an effective leader, if you want to inspire people, if you want to educate people, if you want to mobilize people to act on justice efforts, given so much of people's time is spent on their smartphone, we really need to have you, your team, your congregation fully engaged on video, because that's where so much of people's attention rests. Okay? So we really want to be moving towards, as leaders, not thinking about video as a way to promote what's happening on, whether you're doing services on Sunday or promoting a program or promoting fundraising, but you're actually showing up as a leader using live video or recorded video the way I am right now to engage with people directly, to have conversations, to let them know what's happening, to do Q&A, and really fully show up where your members and friends are. So give me a like right now if you are tuning in. And do you feel like you're connected to me? Be like, yeah, I know Peter. Like, if you have a sense that you know me and my work, I've been doing almost, not exclusively, but like 3/4 of my work is done remotely using Zoom, Facebook Live, and just digital tools with congregations across the country. So like a lot of staff team trainings, things like that. Okay, so let's talk about digitally what you can be doing really to support your ministry. First, I want to say a huge issue for many congregations is facing challenges of maybe membership decline. People not going to church, not going to congregations, not attending worship. People are so busy. If you want people to show up in person when you are worshiping, when you are doing the things you do, it's important that you show up in their feed on video as a leader. I'm talking to ministers and program staff specifically, and then top leaders in fellowships. You need to be showing up regularly in people's feeds. Like, I think if I was a full-time minister, I'd be on doing like Facebook Live and things multiple times a week to let people know. And again, this can go for religious education, social justice programs. That's like, hey, early in the week, this is what's happening on Sunday. Say, this Sunday we're talking about immigration justice, and explain why that's important. Tell people things you're reading about. Invite your members and friends to invite their friends if they care about the issues, and really start the conversation in advance. What does that accomplish? One, it's relational. You're sharing your passion. You're getting people excited, and it gets people thinking about early on in the week, oh, am I going to go to that? And so it gets their thought process going. If you're not actually engaging with people in a powerful, personal, relational way, sharing your enthusiasm, well, they're watching videos. If you're not on there on video, well, chances are you're missing out. I also see a lot of congregations posting videos just around Sunday, nothing earlier on in the week. If you're not posting regularly, what happens is the algorithms dictating what people see, the social media tools people use are noticing that they're not following you, 5 days a week because you're not posting much, you're not posting videos. And so maybe if you post a video later in the week, just one video, well, the algorithms think that, well, do they really care about you? They're more apt to care about, if they're watching Katy Perry videos all week, or some other influencer, some other organization, if they're watching their videos regularly, they're going to prioritize that content. So you have to be able to show up regularly on video and other posts too, but video more and more as the default, to be consistently showing up, engaging with people, getting people to comment, having them like your stuff, share your content, so that social media platforms understand that your members and friends care about what you're saying. And being on video, especially live video, consistently is the best way to do that. I will say, for those of you who are like, oh, that sounds like a lot of work. It is a lot of work. But as smartphones dominate people's attention and video becomes the default, I mean, the majority of what people are engaging with online, if you are not being present on video, you're going to be in fewer and fewer people's radars. They're going to be forming relationships with other content, other organizations, other opportunities, and the pull to do other things instead of go to your congregation is going to grow and grow and grow. So if you're going to continue doing ministry in the 21st century, going the way our technology is, you need to be doing video, period. That said, let's talk about closing your doors. If there's a community spread, say all of a sudden, I attend a congregation where there are people like doing all kinds of amazing work all over the world, traveling, whatnot. I'm thinking, how long is it going to be before we get the notice that, so-and-so is leading a conference in Italy and they have the coronavirus, Covid19, and we got to shut the congregation down, do a week of disinfecting, and then, all of a sudden there's community spread in our community, and people aren't wanting to go to church, or they're worried about church, or maybe there's a full health official notice, no large gatherings. Okay. If you're faced with not being able to have any large gatherings, say not being able to have worship services for a month, what does that mean for your congregation? I do not want you're not being prepared for that case and not really kind of ramping up your digital skills, your digital strategy, and thinking about it in advance to result in people drifting away, people feeling like, wow, when we were faced with this challenge, my congregation wasn't there. They closed the doors because they were told they had to close it, may not hold the big events. And what I do? I watch Netflix. I binge watch a month of Netflix. Do I even care about the congregation? That was really fun, binge watching the Netflix. We don't want that. We want, as things start going down, before people are told, they have to close the doors, that you're starting to show up. You start right now, next week, or this week, to start thinking about, actually, what I'd love for you to do is this week, make a commitment to go online and do something with video, even if it's just, among your friends on Facebook. Start practicing sharing videos. Just start getting comfortable with it. And just week by week, ramp up to the point where very soon, maybe within 2 weeks, you're actually sharing a live video message to your congregation. It could be about anything. It doesn't have to be about this virus stuff. Now, and so just building up is important. But if your doors are shut for a period of time, what can you do? All right, here's a thought experiment. What if you had to do your ministry exclusively via digital tools, video, Facebook, etc., forever? You're never going to gather anywhere. That's kind of what I'm doing with a lot of my work. What would you do? Well, you have to show up on video and things that you might have shared within a sermon, you can show up on video and share a talk, a message. Maybe you have a shorter 5-minute message and really invite people to engage with you in some kind of spiritual reflection. So you can just share messages. But then we have all these other tools besides just sharing video where people are commenting. There are things like Zoom where we can have lots of people together. I know that you can do things like have large numbers of people on Zoom events and have them break into small groups. So if you start thinking about what do you do throughout the regular course of your ministry, and start figuring out, well, what would that look like if I had to do it remotely via video? So people who are new to a congregation, they need to be welcomed and oriented to what your congregation is about. So you can do a welcome to our congregation. Hey, here's what's happening right now due to the coronavirus outbreak. We're not meeting, in the same way, but we're still doing all these great things online. Let us tell you about Unitarian Universalism or whatever your faith is. So do some newcomer content. If you do regular new member classes, I would love to see you offer a new member class where, suppose it's often your minister, religious educator, and a membership coordinator, or a couple lay leaders offering a membership class on a Saturday. Schedule a Zoom meeting, or there's Zoom meeting and there's Zoom webinar. They're a little different. Zoom will tell you about the difference. But imagine holding a session where you're like, hey, we're going to do our regular membership class. If you're interested in our congregation, getting more deeply involved, or you have those different leaders be on Zoom from within their individual homes, but actually invite people to go through kind of a regular membership class. And so just for all the things that you do throughout the course of regular congregational life, we got to start thinking, all right, how do we do that online? Congregations now on Facebook. Facebook is prioritizing groups and kind of downshifting the importance of pages. So really good to be building up a group where you are inviting your members and friends to be part of your Facebook group, where they can share, kind of almost like a coffee hour kind of atmosphere where people can, it's not as hierarchical, but different people can post to that. I think that's going to be important for congregations if there's any kind of required, what's the term they use, social distancing. Now, obviously there's massive benefit to being together face-to-face, in person. But there's also true value in doing our work and ministry online. Especially when we're doing video to video, someone's on a Zoom session. If you have a small group ministry program, and I hope all of you do, you could start preparing your facilitators, your groups, saying like, hey, if we get to the point, or when we get to the point where people are not feeling comfortable meeting, or we're told we shouldn't meet in groups or larger gatherings. I've heard some people say, what's a large gathering? Well, it's a gathering where you go and you can't be at that event and be 3 feet away from each other. Well, most of the things we do at church, we kind of have to be within 3 feet, right? But so small group ministry, you could, all of your groups, you could start getting them oriented on how to use Zoom to continue their small group sessions. Okay, small group ministry, continue. Classes for children. Could you organize some fun, family ministry events where you're going to talk about, present some kind of class. Maybe it's your religious educator and some other leaders are doing a session where, you're doing something with kids a certain age and their parents or caregivers, and you're going to talk to them about something. You've sent them maybe whether you have content that they're printing, instructions for doing an activity, and you actually facilitate an activity. So there's so many things that we can do to take some of the best of what we do in our congregations and have it happen in some way, bring it online. And so I just want to urge you to, in your meetings at staff teams, other leadership meetings, board meetings, etc., just start dedicating some time to these what ifs. What if we had to do what we do normally face-to-face online and brainstorm and just start talking about it and start moving those plans forward? We might not come to the point where we have any forced closings within the next few months, but we could. You could. The other thing is, I went out for, it was a lunch buffet at an Indian restaurant. I was so skeeved out watching all the people touching the lids of the food, and I am already feeling like, ugh, do I want to go there? When I was at a coffee shop yesterday, like I could see people acting more anxiously. I think that you're going to see some impact on your attendance very soon, if not already. And so one thing to consider is, don't wait until we have forced closings to start doing some of these digital strategies. Showing up on video is going to build relationships with people now, and maybe that encourages them to come, or maybe you just start experimenting with rolling out some alternative digitally based programming and ministry opportunities just because it's valuable to your members generally, and it's something you can continue from now on, but also giving the people who are starting to feel uncomfortable, and especially more elderly and those, I've already heard from a number of UUs who are like, I can't face going to any big events. Like my immune system's already compromised for this reason or that. So we really need to start thinking about that. So I just want to, one, thank you for your leadership. Thanks to those of you who are tuning in. I do hope, especially as the recording comes out, please share this with other leaders. I just want thinking about the possibility of what we can do to jumpstart some people's planning. So now, if you have questions, please share a comment. I'm going to pop open my Facebook where I'm going live right now because it's a little easier for me to check out questions there. Oh boy. You know what? I've added a bunch of people to our group moments before, right when we started, but there's already more. I think this is a hot topic. All right. What else we got? Questions. Well, that's me going live. Okay. Let's see. All right. You know what? All right. There's a bunch of questions about Gather. Is this going to be recorded? Yes, this is going to be recorded. Here's what's going to happen. When I'm done with this, I'm going to post a version of this to YouTube, then I'll throw that in a blog post and post that to my website and send that to my email list. I'm also going to post the audio of this session to my podcast. If you go to your podcasting app, whatever it is, it's everywhere. Apple, Google, just search for my name, Peter Bowden Community Podcast. So the podcast kind of encompasses all my work, not just congregations, but community building and connecting strategies at large. So I think what I'm going to do is, because there aren't too many questions right now, I'm going to invite you to ask questions as they come. You can email me at any time, message me through my Facebook pages. However you're connected to me, message me, send me your comments, your questions, and I'll do follow-up. I have other trainings that'll be coming out later on in the spring for people who want to go deeper into some video strategy, etc., small group ministry. But I'm going to continue, especially as we're dealing with this challenge of the coronavirus, COVID-19, just posting regular, shorter strategy videos. Okay, so send me your questions and I'll post Q&A responses. And I think, we'll wrap up there. All right, thanks for your leadership, and make sure that in your next team meetings, you have this on your agenda. What if we need to close? How do we do some of this digitally? And again, I should just say, I know there are many other things you have to do in terms of preparing communication. I hope that, especially those of you who are in different staff, minister in other Facebook groups and such, that you're sharing copies of templates of emails and some of the communication that's going out, that you're all helping each other out with that. And I'll be here having your back when it comes to your digital strategy. So thank you, and I'll talk to you all very soon.